Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today I have a couple of fun summery nail art tutorials for you that I'm really excited to share. It's been a while since I've done a tutorial again. I meant to get this up a lot sooner, but we're here now. So as always, I will have everything that I use in the description box down below. So let's get into it. The first look we have is this super cute and classic watermelon slice French tip. I feel like this is such an easy mani to do, and you only need a couple of colors, starting with your favorite watermelon kind of shade. And I'll start by painting my French tip. You could just use the nail polish brush and go over it a couple of times until you're happy, but I ended up using a detail brush to really clean up the smile line. Then you go in with your favorite lime green, and again, just using the nail polish brush. You want to be very careful by painting the very tip of your free edge. So I did wipe off most of the polish on the brush just to work with a little bit of polish at a time, and then I went over it until I was happy. Lastly, I'm using an orange stick, or you can use a dotting tool, a toothpick, anything that you have, and some black nail polish to create the seeds. So I kind of messed up my middle one, so I went over it with my watermelon shade, and then I top coated everything, and it is just super, super cute. Obviously, this looks great with a watermelon design, but I also tried doing a kiwi. It didn't come out as cute. I probably should have used a reference, but you can also do some citrus slices. I did some little lemons, and I feel like they're just so cute. Another design I absolutely love in the summer is a classic Smoosh mani. So this one can be a little bit messy. If you do have liquid latex, I would advise using that, or just a good old Q-tip and 100% acetone is all you need. But you're gonna need a couple of shades. I'm using these three really bright kind of neon shades because I just love these colors together. So once you have your shades ready, opened off to the side, and you have your latex dried up around your nail, you need a little plastic baggie or something, and you're gonna just dip your nail polish onto the bag in just whatever kind of pattern that you want. And once you have a couple of blobs down, you just smoosh it onto your nail. It's really as simple as that. I just love how easy this is because it just gives it this natural, almost tie-dye, watercolor kind of effect. I think it is so cool and definitely worth the little mess. Next up, we have these fun beachy waves, and I feel like this is another super easy one that just looks harder than it is. So for this look, you're gonna need at least two blue polishes. I like going with a light one and a dark one, and also using a white later on. But you're basically gonna start out by doing the same thing of blobbing on your nail polish, and then using your cleanup brush, you're going to swirl the polish around, not exactly mixing it, but just swirling it, and then you scoop up the polish and then paint it onto your nails. And so you can see that it creates these marble-like effect with the light blue and dark blue. Some spots might mix a little bit more, but you see the clearer definition towards the left side of my nail. So I think it looks pretty cool. So you can definitely leave it as is, especially if you're using different colors. But to complete that beachy wave look, I'm using some white polish and dabbing my brush a little bit into it. So there's some polish, but it's not super wet. It's a little bit tacky. And then I'll just start kind of outlining that most outer shape of my drag marble to create that foam kind of look. I decided to add another kind of wave closer to my tip there, and it's definitely okay for this to be a little bit messy because it just adds to that sea spray kind of look. Now for some vacation nails, I have this really cute Monstera and Hibiscus design. I love this so much. So first, we're going to start with the Monstera leaf. I like to use at least two greens, but you can use whatever shades you have or want. And using a small brush, I just start by creating a line towards the corner of my nail, which is going to act as the center of my leaf. So I personally like to start by painting from the tip going outwards because it sort of gets bigger as it goes farther out, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's probably easier to have a reference. I actually have a pretty Monstera myself, so I turned one of the leaves around and just sort of used that as a guide. Then you'll obviously want to repeat this step on the other side. I tend to make mine symmetrical for the most part. I don't really go crazy with adding in the little fenestrations or holes in the Monstera. You basically get the idea just by the shape alone, so it's really pretty. Again, you can totally leave this as is, but I like adding a little bit more depth to my nail art looks, so I'll go in with a lighter shade of green and basically paint down the center of the leaf to almost create like a veining kind of effect. I know Monsteras don't really look like that necessarily, but I don't know, I just really love the look of it when it comes to nail art. So you're more than welcome to skip that step if you really don't want to mess up your leaf or anything, but even though mine is messy, I feel like it still looks really cute. But I'm gonna be filling out that bottom left corner with a hibiscus flower, which is so perfect for summer. So I accidentally forgot to record this first step, but I basically created 3 sets of these 2 dots next to each other, kind of in like a half circle shape around that bottom corner, if that makes sense. And then from there, you go back in with your detail brush and basically paint down towards the center. So you're creating like these little triangle kind of shapes, and that basically creates your hibiscus petals. I feel like it's just so cute once it starts coming together. So I just decided to fill in that blank space in the very corner of my nail with more petals. So once you have your petals completed, the last step is creating that little stem. So I just use a really fine detail brush dipped in some yellow nail polish, and using the same detail brush, or you could use a toothpick, just create those little stipples at the end, and that is your finished look. Just top coat it and you are set. Next up, we have this shimmering blue checkerboard. I love this checkered nail trend, and it's just so satisfying to fill this mani in. So I think it's definitely easier to use creams, but since this is a little bit more of a intermediate design, we're gonna go with a shimmer polish. But the main tool for this look is having a long detail brush. The longer it is, the better, because you don't have to do that much work. You just have to drag the brush across your nail. But my main other tip is to have your entire other hand rested on the table. Normally when I'm doing nail art, I only have my elbow on the table and I'm just kind of like free flowing, whatever. But for straight lines, it really helps to have your wrist on the table as well, because it just creates so much more stability. It's also a lot easier to paint vertical lines on your nails, so once you finish that and it's time for the horizontal lines, all you have to do is just rotate your hand that you're painting on just to continue painting vertical lines. So you'll eventually have this grid pattern. Obviously, mine is very tiny, which is a lot harder to do. So if you do less vertical lines and horizontal lines and just make the pattern bigger, it will be a lot easier. So you could start that way as well. I decided to just go big or go home with this tinier checker print pattern. But either way, once you start filling it in, you're obviously going to fill it in alternating boxes. I ended up having to do 2 coats because of this sheer shimmery polish, but I love the finished look. It's just so pretty. Probably the most time consuming, but definitely worth it. And lastly, we have this super cute flamingo and kind of a palm tree design. So this one is another super cute one that needs a couple of polishes and maybe a little bit of patience, but it's really not that hard. So with your favorite pink polish and a somewhat medium-sized dotting tool, you're just basically gonna draw a number 2 on the center of your nail. I tried to give mine a little bit of a longer neck, but basically that bottom part of the 2 is what the body is gonna become. So I was a little anatomically incorrect with making my tail point upwards when they normally point downwards, but what I did get anatomically correct were their legs. So you wanna start by painting your straight line, but then the other leg is bent backwards, like compared to how we normally would bend our legs, if that makes sense. So at least I got that right. But yeah, you'll just finish off by adding in the little beak and eye, and I decided to just fill out the top of my nail with some pomme fronds. So again, it's basically using your detail brush and just creating these short strokes that get a little bit longer the farther out that you go. But that's pretty much the final look. You obviously just want to top coat like always to protect and seal in your design. But yeah, I love this so much. It makes me so happy. I can't wait to hear what you all think of these designs, and I really hope that you give them a try because again, I think they look so adorable and are so much easier to do than they might seem. So if you do try them, just tag me on Instagram with #polishedyogi so that way I can see them. Or if you have any other requests, just leave them down below. But thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!